Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Million Dollar Media. I'm your host Max Kellerholz, and with me today I have,
Hello, it is I, Donovan, once again.
and we are going to talk about the Marvel Disney Plus show Loki. It just ended its second season, and we're going to talk about what we thought about the show in general, because I don't know if they're going to have a season three at the time of recording. So we're just going to review the show as a whole.
I don't think they would. That was a pretty
We'll get
like
into it. We'll
yeah.
get into it. Let's not jump the gun here. Well, do you want to describe what the show's about, or do you want me to?
I will do my version of what the show's about, and
Okay.
then I guess you can do your version.
Okay.
So the show picks off in what is it? In a stray plot line left in I think it was
Endgame.
Endgame
Mm-hmm.
where what it was Loki being arrested at the end of the first Avengers movie,
Mm-hmm.
but then he escapes and he ends up being captured by this organization called the TVA,
Mm-hmm.
Time Variance Authority.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's authority anyways.
It's authority,
And
yeah.
so,
I always thought it was
yeah, yeah,
association, but it's the authority because they're very well. They're authoritative. We'll get into them. We'll
yeah,
get into them.
yeah. So he gets captured by the Time Variance Authority, who was going to kill him
Pretty
for
much
being
a variant.
time variant
Yeah, variant.
of what the original Loki would be.
Mm-hmm.
He ends up escaping their grasp after a few episodes
Mm-hmm.
and temporarily teaming up with another variant
Mm-hmm.
of Loki.
A woman Loki, actually.
Yes, a woman Loki.
Mm-hmm. We'll get into
And
that whole relationship in a bit. You did a good job recapping what the general plot of the show is for at least the first season.
yeah,
I don't want to get into too much spoiler stuff off the bat, so let's just try to keep it very vague regarding
okay,
what
vague.
happens. And we really can't talk
Okay,
much about season 2 because there are some things that are spoilers for season 1.
okay.
So, I'm just going to say I really like this show. Of all the Marvel Disney Plus shows, this is probably my favorite and one I would always look forward to week.
Interesting take.
I don't know, it just reminded me of Doctor Who. Like Marvel meets Doctor Who. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Where it's just we're doing weird time shenanigans. It's very sci-fi concepts of different timelines, variants of different people, just playing with time and space in a very fun and quirky, weird way. I even like the design of everything. Like the TVA itself has a really interesting look to it, like this weird bureaucratic Kafka-esque wood paneling 60s kind of everything looks like it's been on file and analoged and I don't know, it has a really cool look to it. It's like a corporate headquarters for something that's so fucking sci-fi.
Yeah, I feel like all the art style, and all the props and all the effects were
Mm-hmm.
all really fun.
No, yeah, very much agree. I think that this show of all the shows had very good effects. It feels really big budget. They put a lot of money into this show, unlike other shows maybe.
Yeah, and like just generally the atmosphere given off by all of the well, when everything's put together,
Hmm.
it feels like a part of it is surreal with
Yeah,
everything happening.
exactly. Yeah, like there's another set towards the end of the first season. You see more of it in the second season, where it's this really cool black obsidian granite stone structures with gold inlays everywhere. And the whole house, mansion, castle, whatever you want to call this thing, just has a really cool look to it of this just feels like it was carved instead of built. Like it was just chipped away and made into this big building kind of thing. And I really like that look of everything. I thought it was a very nice change of pace compared to the everything else in the first season. In the second season, they doubled down on the overall bureaucratic look of everything when you go down to the basement level of the TVA and you see the offices where they just throw people that they don't want to talk to anymore. in
Yeah,
the like the caf. They have a cafeteria, or at least a pie room for that matter.
yeah. They have the pie room. That's man. I wish pie rooms existed in real life.
I kind of do too. I would prefer more than just key lime pie, but I would
I
like a
mean,
pie room.
at least cherry or something.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a cherry pie guy too as well.
I don't even think I've eaten a real cherry pie before. That's the worst part.
It's really good, really good. Let's go character by character at least. So, do you want to talk about like the main Loki first? I thought that this has been the best of Tom Hiddleston as Loki, and I feel like he had a lot of range to play the character more in the first season, but I believe there's a good reason why he plays the character different in the second season.
I feel like in terms of low key content, this is literally the most we've seen of him.
Of course,
Because
yeah.
like in the Thor movies, he was kind of sidelined,
Mm-hmm.
and he got done dirty in what is it, Infinity War?
Infinity War, yeah.
That was pretty lame. Actually, I gotta say that was pretty lame.
I mean, good ending for that version of the character and what that led up to. Maybe
Well,
it's a bit quick, but like I can't really think of any other way for him to go.
well,
You
I
know,
mean, I feel like they could have executed it slightly better if they really needed to end him off, but that's a conversation for a different day.
I don't know. I felt like the way it like affected like Thor as a character
Yeah,
was good for me. Like that version of Thor in that film is like my favorite interpretation we've had so
yeah.
far. Like I feel like that his death in that movie set up that character in a really interesting way. This version is really
Okay.
interesting because like you said earlier, this is a variant where he escaped after the Battle of New York. He's coming off of a very big loss. Like
Yeah,
this is the Loki that just got the shit kicked out of him by Hulk. Definitely like a little bit, I should say, like embarrassed, and like he's still trying to keep up this bravado of like, oh, I'm king, I'm destined to rule. He's like the god of mischief still. And throughout this show, you kind of see him stop like being so arrogant and
the evil inside of him just kind of
yeah, and you
dies out.
he becomes less of a god and more of a human, at least through
Yeah.
most of the show. Again, we'll get into the ending and everything like that. But what did you think of like him, like this version of Loki in this show?
I will say they definitely took him in an interesting direction.
Mm-hmm.
I think the process of trying to turn the guy who like destroyed like basically a good 70% of New York into a not villain was it was a little strange because it was a little all it was pretty all over.
Mm-hmm. I feel like in the movies, like throughout the first three phases, it was a good progression from villain to hero or anti-hero kind of thing. Whereas this was like he just got off a genocide or an attempted
Yeah,
genocide, and now he's good Loki. But
yeah,
I don't know, it kind of worked for me because of just like the situation itself kind of had the character really do a lot of self-reflecting,
yeah.
mostly because of just the situation that he's putting himself in and, you know, the people he's around. Like, I don't know. Like, there's two characters I think really changed this Loki, and I'm curious to think which one do you want to talk about first, if you know who I'm talking about.
I know who you're talking about.
Say it then.
Uh, let's talk about Mobius first.
Yes, all right, that's exactly what I was thinking.
I think out of all the characters in this show, he's my favorite just because of like how unironically he's just vibing out half
Yeah,
the time.
because he's just a guy, regular old office worker. He's like a HR manager kind of like character who's just like, look, man, you did this, you gotta pay for your actions, but I'm gonna let you get by if you just do this one thing for me and just comply
Yeah,
with our rules and everything will be okay. I think Owen Wilson, this was like the biggest get for this show. Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston, I almost said Loki, have some of the best chemistry of like any Marvel character. Or Tony and Rhodey, Cap and Bucky. Like I feel like these two really kind of like cement themselves as like great friends on screen. I
Ant
don't know.
Man and the Wasp.
Well, that's a different
I,
kind of that's
I,
more than friends. That's
I know.
Mm.
I know.
Unless you want to read the fan fiction of the Loki for, people, but nah. I love the way he like bounces off Loki's like Shakespearean bravado of like I am burdened with glorious purpose, and he's just like, oh, okay, glorious purpose, huh? Neat. Like
Yeah,
he
he's
doesn't
like
care.
he's what is it? I don't know. It's hard to say because the first episode he was kind of like the psychiatrist or
Yeah,
whatever,
exactly. He's breaking down Loki, and
and he's like, yeah, let's figure out how you work as a
mhm,
person. So, what do you like to
exactly.
do? Cause chaos?
Yeah,
He's like, no,
exactly.
I like to take my throne,
Hmm.
and he's like, by causing chaos.
Yeah, he's the only character who, right off the bat, sees the potential of what this Loki can do, and he's always had that like hope that this one can be different from the rest. So you
Yeah,
automatically are more endeared to him because he has such a good heart, kind of thing. But he's just been beaten down by this bureaucracy of the TVA so much of just like, I'm trying to do my best here, but you guys are really making it difficult
yeah, yeah.
with all these bullshit rules and gods we have to like bow down to, and we'll get into all that. Owen Wilson in general is just a great actor for the show, and like it got to show off his dramatic chops and his like comedic chops, and I really think that was good for the show. Like he's just not oh wow in it the entire time.
Yeah, yeah.
I think you know what the second character I was thinking of that really kind of changed this character.
Sylvie.
Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah, despite the weird stuff that happened between her and Loki, I think they did good with her character. I just wish there was more of her in season two.
I agree. I agree. I think she was the best in season one, but then again, I think that's the point because like in season one, she's focused on this one particular goal, and she will stop at nothing until that goal is accomplished. And
Her main goal
yeah,
is to
and
blow up
yeah,
and then act like she don't know nobody.
exactly. I do see what you mean by like her like in season two. You wish she had more, but I do find her interesting in season two as this wild card character, where it's just like she's already accomplished her goal, so now she's just trying to figure out how to live life now.
I would say it's less than that, more like she's just trying to be in peace.
True, true. And like anytime that something that resembles her original goal appears, she diverts right back into the character from season one. And I find that interesting, where it's just like she's got what she wanted, but after all this pain and suffering that she's had to put herself through, just to then like let this particular thing that the main characters are doing, she's like, no, I can't have any of that happening. And I'm trying to keep it very vague. But yeah, great character. I think the actress name is Sophie Di Martino. Sophia Di Martino.
Yeah, I don't know any of the
Really,
actors' names unless they're like
really good
big.
actress. I like that she doesn't play her version of a Loki like Tom Hiddleston's Loki. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Because she's technically a variant of Loki. So
Yeah,
she's like Loki if Loki ended up being born a girl.
I think it's a little bit. No, I don't know how it is
I
actually,
think, oh, at
but
least that's what I got out of the show, where it's like that's how variants are. It's just this one thing changes, and your circumstances are relatively the same.
I mean, generally,
Yeah.
I
Uh,
would talk more about that. I think that'd be going too deep.
okay, that's fair. I think we mentioned it a bit about like one thing that they do, and it's not it's kind of a spoiler, but I think it's kind of been talked about enough. Whereas that
Yeah,
this these two characters develop a somewhat romantic relationship.
it was a singular romantic connection that
Yeah,
just kind of disappeared after like that one.
it's either the ultimate form of like narcissism of just like I love myself so much that I would only love a version of me.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like
bizarre.
it's self-love taken to its utmost degree. And I think that's an interesting like metaphor if you want to look at it like that. The thing that helps this Loki become a better person is by loving himself more. In this case, literally. So if you want to read it into it like that, you can. But I feel like this Loki also does learn to like appreciate himself as a person and not as
Yeah.
this evil godlike figure of god of mischief character that he's been raised to believe that he is.
It just feels really weird that it happened. No one was like, "Dang, those two should," uh, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, get together. No.
except for the writer who was like, "You know what? I'm just gonna go there just this once."
Honestly, it felt a little like fan fiction of just like
It
two
basically
characters that are
was, yeah.
not supposed to like really be together. Whoever wrote it was just like, I just want to see this happen, so I'm gonna write it this way. But I'll say this: it's better than fan fiction because it's actually a pretty decent story and like how they do everything. In my opinion, I like how the relationship develops into season two, where it's this very, very awkward, like barely talking to each other at first kind of relationship, which
Yeah.
I know how that feels, and I appreciate that the show got that awkward feeling down pretty well. Yeah, like there's other characters that we could definitely talk about. Like, I really like B-15.
Oh yeah.
I thought
I
I did,
think she's. I think her transformation was pretty good, actually.
I really like that character's arc throughout the show, where it's like she starts out this devout, like the TVA is everything, it's the truth, like there's nothing else but the TVA, into someone that ultimately starts questioning things and ultimately takes over the TVA and you know becomes this like authoritative figure and makes her own decisions. That for her, and I thought the actress pulled that off really well.
Yeah, she did.
Mm-hmm.
All the actors in this
Mm-hmm.
show did like an amazing job at their
Mm-hmm.
roles.
Oh yeah. One character that's in season two that really stole the show, and makes sense why is Ouroboros Obi
Oh yeah, he's
played.
like
Yeah,
the second top character of all time.
yeah, he's the best. Like, it's tough for like a new actor to come into a series in its second season and like try to like compete with everybody, but he did so well gelling with each of the already established characters that it almost felt like he's always been there. And characters played by Keith Kwan, who's short round. He's also was just in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, he does a great job. Honestly, his character is like very well done.
Mm-hmm.
I I think out of all of the characters, like specifically, he's just the most perfectly well written character.
I agree. He has a lot of like my favorite deliveries of just like deadpan, like I don't know, like, we'll see. He's just so neurotic and fast and fun. It's just he's just a really fun character. Well, really well performed by the actor who just goes for it. I don't know. I think only Ki Hoi Kwan can really portray that and not make it come across as like insincere. Like it feels very sincere. Like this is what this character would be like. And yeah, he just steals the show whenever he's on screen. And he's in a lot of season two.
It's great.
Mm-hmm.
He's great.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of Miss Minutes?
That was weird during the second season.
The second season, they took that in some directions that I wasn't expecting, and quite frankly, didn't make a lot of sense to me.
They made it weird.
They
It
really did.
I I would tell you something that would make sense, but I can't tell them the spoiler. So
Sure. I'll just say I love the effect of Miss Minutes, of this like 1950s character, like animated character that's just interacting with live action stuff. It's so bizarre that it just kind of works for what they're setting up in this world of the TVA, where it's just like there's a lot of weird shit going on, and this is just the cherry on top of all that weirdness.
yeah,
If I had any negatives for the show, it's mostly like I wasn't a big fan of most of the fight scenes. Like I judge fight scenes on like good choreography and camera work and stuff, and it was fine.
yeah. I don't remember a lot of the fight scenes,
Yeah, that's kind.
but
But I think the strength of this show was never going to be its fight scenes. It was going to be the dialogue between characters. Loki's not really a fighter character. He's all about mischief. So he's all about like mind games and trying to like get one up people intellectually. So I was more expecting that kind of thing out of the show, and for what the show ended up being, I think they pulled it off very well.
I feel like the general plot is like kind of
Interesting.
It's
Do you mean like
I,
as in like simplistic, or as in like it's not really your
it's
thing?
um I just don't think it's my thing because
Okay.
um, maybe just like if I'm a man of plot, I judge plot doesn't make any sense, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And while for the most part this plot does, for like I said, the most part makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like it was building up to something, and then the second season that something never came. That's one of my
Interesting.
issues with the
All right.
plot.
Well, if we want to go into spoilers now, I kind of want to hear what you mean by that. So, for those listening, we are now going to get into spoilers. So, for the rest of this video, we are going to be talking very open and candid about the TV show as a whole. Spoilers and all. We'll talk about the ending, and I kind of want to hear what Donovan has to say about like this particular negative. So, what do you mean, like you were what the first season set up and the second season didn't pay off on?
Okay, the entirety of the first season was building up to Kang the Conqueror, or a variant of him at least.
I
And
okay. I think I know what you. Yeah, I see what you mean.
yeah, we see him and he dies. But before he dies, he promises that there will be more of him.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout the second season, we only see one more of him,
Mm-hmm.
and he's not even evil.
Yeah. Not gonna lie, I was a little disappointed in that myself because at the time of recording this, there's a lot of weird behind the scenes drama at Marvel right now regarding like how they're gonna go about this upcoming phase of Marvel, especially with the Jonathan Majors controversy going around. We're not going to say what we believe. All we know is that there's just serious allegations and that he's currently on trial for those allegations. So until whatever verdict they come up with, we will make our opinions on the matter when that verdict has been said.
I just hope that the allegations are wrong and that he's just innocent. That's all I want.
I
Because
do.
like he's a great actor.
He is a great actor. He really is. And like now that we're in spoilers, I think the first time we see him in season one, he played the character in a way that it was a little weird, but I can totally understand that version of the character. And then after seeing Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, I totally appreciated like how he's going to go about playing Kane if they continue to do this. Of just like each time we see him, he's a different version. But I kind of felt like the He Who Remains and Victor Timely were a bit too similar in that they're just these weird kooky guys.
I think they were that similar. Technically speaking, they're the same person.
I know. I'm just glad that we got the version we saw in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, that very serious, threatening, scary version of Kang. Yeah, I would have loved season 2 to be like this hunt for different versions of He Who Remains or Kang. That would have been fun, but what we got, I still really like, and I think it's a better Loki show because of it. And if they were to have done what we're saying, where it's like a bunch of like Loki hunting Kane, it would have just been that, and it would have been one big commercial for Avengers Kane Dynasty or Avengers Secret Wars, which
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad that they didn't do, and that this is a Loki show. So we're gonna focus on Loki, and it just has a lot of elements of Kane the Conqueror in it.
They could have gone in multiple directions. I feel like a way to have Kang the Conqueror appear without it specifically being Loki looking for Kang
Mm-hmm.
is to almost instantaneously have a variant of Kang appear as the antagonist.
That's fair. That's fair.
With like probably not like I don't know. I remember the ending of season one. I thought it was like an alternate. Actually, now that I think about it, it doesn't make any sense. But like now that No, I thought it was like an alternate time, alternate dimension or something, where there's another TVA with a different king as their leader. But
Oh, you mean
it was,
like at the very end when Loki gets sent through the time door
yeah,
kind of thing?
yeah,
I
that was trippy.
I thought it was another like reality as well. Like, oh shit, he got sent to another timeline where Kane is the leader of the TVA, but that's not what happened. It was just that Loki was just sent back an earlier period of time of the TVA before all the shits of the first season. Which, all right, that wasn't like I don't know. It was an interesting take. I would have preferred like Loki going to like different timelines and seeing different things, but I don't know. I think what we got for season two, I don't know. I keep saying that it's not what I wanted, but what I got was still really good. You know what I mean?
I actually thought of a way to incorporate the whole new Kang the antagonist thing while
Mm-hmm.
also keeping it relevant to the actual focus of season two,
Mm-hmm.
the Loom,
Yeah.
which would be that this other Kang knows that the TVA has a ton of resources he can use to rule
Conquer.
whatever
Yeah.
or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
he goes over and attempts to overtake that while there's still chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, the loom is it's gonna blow up. It's gonna start doing some weird stuff.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally get what you mean. Like just another version of Kane being the main threat instead of like Renslayer or Miss Minutes in the season, you get an actual Kane.
I almost completely forgot about Renslayer.
I like the actress and I like that character and I like her in season two more than I liked her in season one. But I kind of don't like where they leave her off because that character's so intrinsic to Kane as a character. They only hinted at it in this season of like how important she is to him. To be fair, I don't know the plans for this character, and for all I know, she can be a very big influence on in Kang Dynasty if they still do that. But still,
Yeah, I do not believe they gave her a proper ending. What they did to her, they just kind of threw her aside
mm,
because this new big element was taking over the plot line.
yeah, I
That's
wish that we got
funny.
a better ending for her because I do like that actress Gugu Mbatha-Raw. I don't know. I thought she had a great presence to her, and she was came off as very threatening. So to just see her character kind of get cast off at the end was just a bit. I don't know. I would have liked to see more of that character, but to be fair, there, as you said, there was a lot more bigger shit going on that
Yeah.
it kind of. I guess the writers didn't really know what to do with her, so where she ends off at the end of time, at the very end, I guess, is a fitting end nonetheless.
Oh yeah. What did you just think about the ending of season two in general?
Mm. All right, if we're gonna jump right to that, can we talk about the ending of season one first?
Okay.
Because I feel like
Okay.
that really sets up my thoughts for how things go in season two.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the ending of season one, like, was really interesting because we basically find out that the entire part of season one, we don't know who is behind everything. Like, we don't know who this He Who Remains is. Like, who is this person that's who's really in control of the TVA? And then at the very end, it was a big reveal that it's Kane, but not really Kane. It's a version of Kane. And this was the first time we got to see Jonathan Majors play this character. So it was a really big freaking deal. This character, he sits both of the Lokis down. It's Loki and Sylvie. He tells them like, look, if you kill me, the sacred timeline will start to branch off and new timelines will start to form and more versions of me will want to control those timelines and it will end up in a multiversal war. And Sylvie just straight up kills him because this is the person that's caused her the most grief. So what ends up happening is that the multiverse is just born in the first season.
He gave them it was like a choice whether to
An ultimatum, yeah.
yeah, it was to like continue whatever or to
Mm-hmm.
cause multiversal war.
Yeah.
And like he like
Mm-hmm.
it's a very complex situation.
Yeah. And I always while I know a lot of people were like how does Loki tie into everything else? And for me, I thought it tied into everything else because like since like the whole TVA is out of time and is can be at any point in time, so is the multiverse. So this is just how the multiverse was born. So anytime we would experience multiversal shit in the past, it's already happened because time is like infinite kind of thing. You know what I mean?
That's an interesting way of looking at it.
Because yeah, because it's supposed to say like okay, the sacred timeline was the MCU that we've seen all the way up to this point. So this is like the earliest movie that we can really see is like from Captain America to whatever was the last movie that came out before Loki. So
Yeah.
and then when this happened, this just pretty much canonized all the other Marvel adjacent universes. So your Spider Verse with Miles Morales, your Deadpool universe, your X Men, your other Spider Man with Toby and Andrew. Hell, the Netflix stuff. It might be in its own universe. This pretty much like canonized it as this is all a part of our story. It's just that it's not a part of the sacred timeline kind of thing, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I saw it. So when people were like, how does Loki tie into everything? It was just like, well, it ties in by just saying all these branching timelines started because of this event here. And that if you wanted to go back to just one singular timeline, you would have to do this one thing. So yeah, the multiverse was then born. And in the second season, the whole story is that all these branching timelines are becoming too unstable and it will pretty much lead to the destruction of the universe of the multiverse in general and everything will cease to exist because time will just be out of order kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I've talked enough about like what happened leading up to the season 2 ending. I kind of want to hear what you think about the season 2 ending first.
Uh,
Cuz I
in
have
my opinion,
yeah.
season two no, the ending to season two
Mhm.
justified the entirety of season two
I agree.
because it felt like he was beating around a bush,
Uh-huh.
and then it ended, and I'm like, oh, so that's why he did all
Yeah, I
things.
it's a very satisfying ending for the series and the season as a whole.
I think the big thing that really makes the ending work is the plot twist with the why their problem existed to begin with.
Hmm. Are you talking about the like the loom and it's you we're never going to be able to fix the loom because
Yeah,
it's a scaling problem and that like you cannot account for infinity because
yeah,
what happened is like time is just splintering off in so many directions and it's basically infinite possibilities are being born kind of thing. Is that what you're trying to say?
it was more directly about what Kang said about the loom,
Hmm.
about it being freaking rigged to begin with,
Yeah.
which made everything more comprehensively about him and trying to free the multiverse and just you know,
Well, I don't think. Well, He Who Remains was never about trying to free the multiverse. He was always about like one timeline and prune everything else so that
well,
nothing else can exist. I'm in control of time. And
yeah,
what pretty much the theme of this season is like free will. So all these branching timelines should have the right to exist because
yeah,
people should be able to choose what how they want to live without someone like pruning them and like doing shit like that. And then we get into what Loki decides to do. And I love just how the entire final episode was structured. It basically took my favorite part of Doctor Strange of the Dormammu I've come to bargain and made that its own episode with Loki.
yeah, just about,
Where it's like Loki, oh yeah, Loki develops time powers, or at least like he gets like thrown through time so much that he just starts like ending up at different points in time in different places as well. And he learns to control this and pretty much becomes like a master of time,
yeah,
a time lord, if you will, for you Doctor Who fans. So the whole last episode is him trying to figure out every little possible detail so that the loom can be fixed. And again, when they figure out it can't be fixed, it's him going back and trying to reason with how he has to go about doing everything. Like at one point, he's like, "All right, well, maybe I should kill Sylvie because she's the reason why this all happens. And if she dies, then this doesn't happen and everything goes back to normal." And he realizes that's not the best outcome. He talks to Kane, or He Who Remains, and he's just like, "Look, this is how, like, as you said, he rigged the game, so this is how you gotta play it." And then Loki basically decides, "I'm not gonna play any of those hands." And he basically does a sacrifice play, and he goes out, destroys the loom. All time is just out and about. He literally grabs the physical manifestation of timelines, drags them, pulls them together, and basically creates a stable multiverse.
Yes.
And for those who are still listening and did not watch the show, this was some trippy shit watching it all play out, because this is probably the most abstract Marvel has ever gotten.
Yeah, it definitely is.
And ultimately, what I may have just said could be could be wrong, and there's a different explanation that the writers have, or whoever's watching this, you probably have like a different like interpretation of what happened. But honestly, that's what I kind of like about it. This ending, it's just like whatever he did, it worked. It's just up to you to decide what it all represents, because the imagery in just that final episode is just so awesome. Like this is the first time this season you see Loki with the horns, and they're the biggest you've ever seen them. He's back in the green outfit and everything like that, but it's different this time. It's not all gold and bombastic. It's very dark and dark green, and like it's a very different version of Loki that we've seen. And at the end, we he basically his glorious purpose is to watch over these timelines, and basically he's already immortal, literally live out existence watching over this multiverse and forever alone, but still making the sacrifice for all of his friends. And that's what I really like about this ending. It made his arc a human arc, in that like he went from a god, got humbled, learned to love, learned to have friends, and understand the importance of that. And that's what makes this ending so bittersweet, is that he sacrificed all of that love and friendship to make sure that their lives are better. That's how I saw it, at least.
Honestly, I don't even.
Sorry.
I just kind. No, it's alright. I just kind of thought it was kind of. I don't even know.
It's a
I,
lot.
I just I just see him walking out,
Uh-huh.
grabbing these timelines, wearing green and having horns bigger than his freaking head,
Mm-hmm.
and then he gathers them all, and then he just like he just has them. He
Mm-hmm.
just has them, and
Yeah.
it's like, dang, he really did it.
Yeah.
He did it,
Uh-huh.
and it's like what the rest of the squad are just they're just doing their thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, all right, so what do we do now?
Yeah.
The answer is stop the bad guy.
Well, I don't even know if that's that, because I don't know where Sylvie goes after this, but her arc is clearly done.
She's probably
She's
going
probably
back to McDonald's.
McDonald's. Yeah, honest.
After she killed Kane, what does she do? She puts all of her stuff away. She goes into a timeline and applies for a job at McDonald's, and she's gonna work there until she's dissatisfied, and she's never gonna be dissatisfied.
I mean, I kind of like the idea because it's a very strange Marvel idea of like taking these larger than life characters and putting them in like the most bland and mundane of job you could think of, a fast food worker.
Yeah, it's just like, oh yeah, we're just gonna have like the conqueror of the universe work at McDonald's.
Exactly. Well, I don't want to say conqueror, but yeah, I know what you mean. Like,
Not conqueror. You get the point.
yeah, I get what you mean. The God of Mischief. I also like that I have a pet peeve in movies and TV sometimes when they come up with their own fast food brands or like local shops and stuff because I'm like, you know, if I'm being real, when me and my friends would go out to eat somewhere just for like a quick meal, we don't go to a coffee shop and order like a fucking bagel. We go to McDonald's and talk shit out either in the parking lot or inside the building.
I don't know, man. Have you ever had a midnight bagel before?
I I don't know, man, but I've had a midnight Big Mac before and that shit slaps.
You might have a point. I personally have not had a
See?
midnight.
But yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. But like going back to the ending, I kind of want to still poke at you with like, what do you think of the ending in general? Did you find it satisfying at the very least?
Um, I guess I can say yes because, like I said, it justified the entire reason for season 2 to happen.
I get you.
Like it just took like that ending says we were never going in that direction. We're focusing on this big thing over here, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh my goodness, that makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
They're still working off of what that guy from last season, and that is technically speaking makes him like the main villain of the show,
Yep. Yep.
despite only appearing in like 2 episodes.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, you do bring up a good point. Like, even though you don't see much of He Who Remains, his presence throughout the entire show is so well done and makes him so terrifying that you kind of forget that one of the versions of this was beaten by ants.
When you say it like that, but like you're not even wrong.
No, I'm not. Like, the one that was meant to be really terrifying and taken seriously was beaten by ants, and the one that was goofy and quirky and weird was the most terrifying. I think you have a problem on your hands here.
I'm, man,
Honestly, a lot of.
now you reminded me that he got beaten by ants. I'm just disappointed in that movie.
I know. Well,
The scariest man alive, beaten
I
by ants.
know. Your next Thanos level threat, beaten by ants. Going back to Loki, I feel like this show, the presence that Kane has, is what I want going forward. But I don't think we have that anymore. I don't even know what they're going to do with Kane. Because I don't know what project in the MCU coming up has Kane in it. And spoiler for the Marvels, he's not in the Marvels.
My cousin, she watched the movie. She gave me some spoilers because I'm honestly I wasn't expecting much, and I'm like, huh?
Is there anything else you want to talk about Loki? Because honestly, I think this is a very solid show, and this is probably my favorite of the Disney Plus Marvel shows.
We were just talking about King a second ago. My last complaint is I feel like they changed his like character ever so slightly at the very end because like at the end of season 1 he was straight up suicidal and was like just giving his job to 2 Lokis,
Mm-hmm.
and then what, 1 season and a lot of time jumping later,
Mm-hmm.
he's talking to Loki about the whole loom thing, and he's like, "You have the option between multiversal war or actual peace," which makes it sound like he actually cares about what he's doing. Because like at the end of the first season, he's like, "Kill me if you want or don't,"
Mm-hmm.
you know.
He's a very interesting character in that, like, you can make the argument that he is a villain because he's destroying not even trillions of lives. Like, it's up in, like, the quintillions of possible lives. But you understand why he's doing this because he understands that the problem in all of this is himself. So he's really keeping himself in check by having this one timeline. And that, okay, I'm the one who figured out how to destroy to keep everybody safe and everything at peace. And yes, it's a horrible thing to do, but I'm the only one who's going to do it. And if I'm going to continue to do this, I'm not going to be able to just by myself. I'm just a man. So I got to trust Loki's to do my job, I guess. He found these 2 Lokis and it was like, I'll let these 2 decide what happens. And yeah, season 2 happens.
They specifically retconned that last part and was like, "From here on, I don't know what happens." He lied. He knew what happens.
That's true. That's
It's
very
like, why
true.
would you do that? You had the perfect setup for the perfect villain,
Mm-hmm.
Not the perfect villain. He was not the perfect villain. He was hardly there. I
I
feel like in terms,
I won't say the perfect villain, but a pretty good one. Pretty good one.
yeah, I think he's not the perfect villain, but like
Yeah,
he did a great job at villaining without even being there.
yeah. That's
And then
that's sometimes you could say the perfect villain because you don't have to do much. His
you do not.
conversation with the Loki that's time slipping was really fun to watch, and just that chess game of like, do you really know how many times we've had this conversation? I like that. I thought that was a pretty fun like dynamic between those two.
Yeah, that was some true thought provoking
Even
questions.
though you are right in that he totally lied about like not knowing what goes on, but he did.
It's
uh,
like, oh no, I'm just messing with you. I knew you guys were gonna have trouble. And it's like,
yeah,
bro, why gotta do him like that?
exactly. Yeah, I
It's like if you're just gonna do him like that, why have them make the choice to begin with? It's a
I
trap.
know, I know. I thought the writing of this entire show was really good. Also, like from like a there wasn't a lot of filler or fat on it at all. Everything felt really purposeful and story driven, and it made sense why everything was there. And the pacing was really good. Like each episode was nicely tight in storytelling and like screen presence in general. And I felt like just like from a filmmaking perspective or like a TV making perspective, it was really well done. And I want Marvel to learn from this show to focus on making good episodes of TV instead of trying to make 6 hour long movies split up into 1 hour increments.
Yes.
And I think that that's what this show proved in the end. Do you have anything else to say?
I think that's really it.
All right. Well, yeah, I think that's a good place to end off this review. Again, really like the show. As I said, it's probably my favorite Marvel Disney Plus show. Thank you all for watching this video and listening to us talk about our thoughts on the Loki show. But yeah, Donovan, is there anything you want to say before we wrap this up?
Uh, nah, I got nothing.
Okay. This just proves that this show is not scripted.
Yeah.
All right.
Script. What's
Yeah. And if you want to listen to more of our mad ramblings, please subscribe to our Patreon. For $5 a month, you get to listen to most of the Million Dollar Media episodes unedited. So you get to hear all of the awkward pauses, the uhs, everything you get to listen to. And possibly in the near future, we will be giving even more exclusive content on our Patreon. And yeah, please like, subscribe, and share from Million Dollar Media. And yeah, goodbye.